All right. Today I am joined by Steve Bossart, who is the 49th AA of the Delta Chi fraternity. Steve's been a good longtime mentor of mine ever since my early days at Georgia Southern. Steve is an OWC honoree. He has been on an ABT since 1994. I think that's pretty amazing that he stayed involved at a local volunteer level, even though he's been very involved in shaping our organization at the international level. He is currently the Delta Chi Educational Foundation fundraising chairman, a volunteer role, and he serves on the board of directors for the Beresford Capital Corporation. He's coming to us live today from his home in near outside Akron, Ohio. And I just want to mention that Steve is a wonderful role model as well. He's been married for 23 years to his lovely wife, Lori, who has taught all of us at convention how to eat with the right spoons and forks, and manners matter. And he's a dad to two beautiful little girls, Sutton and Sloan. Steve, thank you for taking some time to be with us here today. And starting out, if you would tell us a little bit about your Delta Chi story, why you joined Delta Chi and why you've stayed involved.
Well, thanks, Peter. It's great to be with you. It's my story is kind of interesting. I didn't join until my fourth year as an undergraduate. I was approached by another fraternity, actually, about becoming a founding father of their organization at Kent State. And for a lot of reasons, that didn't work out. But I went to one of my residents. I was an RA, and I went to one of my residents who was involved in a startup fraternity, Delta Chi. One of our brothers named Dave Ditzler, who was a legacy. His father was a Delta Chi at Penn State. And I said to Dave, hey, tell me a little bit about your fraternity. And he introduced me to the guys. And it's funny, I said to them, I said, hey, I like you guys. I'd like to join. But if you mess with me, I'm out of here. That's what I told them. And, they didn't mess with me. And we built something great. We struggled at first. We had gone a long time. We hadn't pledged anybody. And it was a struggle, but a core group of men got together and said, let's make this thing work. And we got to work, and we made it work. We took it to chartering, and it was a great night. 1990 we chartered. We had a 20-year run. And all that time, Delta Chi at Kent State has been very important to me. We closed in 2010, but we're back now. We just chartered again about a month and a half ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a great celebration. A lot of the members from the older chapter were there, and I asked them to come up, and we presented the old charter to the new group, and it was very emotional. Cool. And just a really great thing. So, but I'll tell you, there's one time, Pete, when I was an undergraduate, my father had died, and the guys rallied behind me, and we were doing a pass the candle. We were actually doing it with a member of the staff from Iowa City. Rick Felt was a leadership consultant way back in the day, and he had some things that happened in his life that were emotional. My father had passed away. It was a very emotional candle pass, and afterwards we said, let's go do something Delta Chi. And so we drove up to Gannon University, where they were initiating the fathers at Behrend, and we participated in the founding father of the Behrend group, stayed in a Super 8 motel up there, and just had a great bonding experience. But the thing about that I always remember is that's the time for me when I knew that Delta Chi could be a driving force in my life. I can pinpoint that one time, and it sure has been. I met my wife there, my best friends, and I will tell you, Delta Chi has been better for me as an alumnus than it was even as an undergraduate.
Wow. That was powerful.
A long, rambling answer to your question, but
no, that was great. That was wonderful. And you went on to work for Delta Chi in a few different capacities before you stepped in as a volunteer. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Oh, it was great. I started as a leadership consultant and under Ray Galbraith. And Pete, I know you worked for Ray, and
yep.
I mean, we all learned so much professionally about how to have pride in our workplace, pride in the work that we do, and all that. If you talk to anybody that worked for Ray, you'll hear that he had a profound impact on their professional lives and personal lives. And so I started as a leadership consultant and just loved it. And it's interesting. I had just started kind of seeing Lori as I had moved to Iowa City. We did a 6-year long distance relationship before internet and Skype and iPhones and cell phones. It's crazy. But I just loved it so much. I kept telling her, one more year, one more year. And, I actually even at one point applied for the Greek advisor job at the University of Akron, which is 5 miles from where she was living. And they offered me the job, and I turned it down. And she said, I knew you weren't going to take that job. I knew you were going to say one more year, one more year. So it ended up, that one more year ended up being 8. And I served as an expansion director for a while and got involved in alumni relations, and then doing what you do, the fundraising for the organization. I was the only employee, and we were a fledgling fundraising shop. And Ray said to me, we want you to head up our foundation. And I said, Ray, I don't know anything about that. And he said, well, you better learn. So that's when I started learning, and I've been a professional fundraiser ever since. And I love it because it's about relationships, and I love building those relationships. So
that's wonderful. I knew that you had served for 8 years. I think you're one of the longest staff members not to be, an executive director or assistant executive director. Maybe you were one of those titles. But you've certainly had a wonderful career. Let's talk a little bit about the foundation and the operating budget side of things and the fundraising. You've done that, as you mentioned, in that role, and then now as a volunteer, you lead a committee of 6 other professional fundraisers from around the country to help guide and advise our development efforts. This time of year, we're trying to close the gap on the end of our annual fund and our operating budget. There's about 10 days left in the year. Can you talk a little bit about how guys can participate and what we're asking people to do this time of year?
Sure. Yeah. Any business, you get to the end of the year and you're either going to have a surplus or you're not going to have a surplus. And we don't call it profit in the nonprofit world. It's a surplus or a deficit. And you never want to finish in a deficit position. And I know it's always a struggle to meet budgets for a nonprofit organization. The ones I've worked for, large ones I've worked for, it's a struggle. Small ones, it's even a bigger struggle. So the Educational Foundation, basically we have 2 professional fundraisers. We have you, Pete, and we have Jason. And you guys operate on a shoestring budget. Your ability to get out and see our people is hampered because we don't have a lot of money, but you do a great job getting out and talking to them about supporting the organization. These guys are not paid a lot of money. So I want the people that are listening, I want them to know that we are operating as lean as we can, but we still need their help. We need your help to take some of the burden off the undergraduates. Most of the operating of the fraternity is taken care of by the undergraduates. But if we're going to support the leadership and educational opportunities that the foundation supports, we need people to step up and make that gift. We want people to consider Delta Chi a priority in their philanthropic giving. It's not something we talk about a lot, but I support many charities in my local community, some bigger than others. I sit on the board of the First Tee of Greater Akron. It's a program that I believe in. I love golf and I love kids, and it melds the two. Yes. Our children's hospital here is amazing. I support them. But to me, Delta Chi has had a profound impact in my life, so it rises above in my philanthropic giving. And I hope that it'll do that for other people too. We need you to make a gift before December 31st this year. So you've got basically, 2 weeks right, to make that gift. And so take a minute today and please just get online. You can make a gift at the website, send a check, whatever works best for you. Make a credit card donation. We love recurring donations. Just make a commitment to Delta Chi. Say, hey, I'm going to give you $50 a month, $80 a month. $80 a month ends up being, $1,000.
Basically, yeah.
For the year, which puts you in some pretty good giving societies. And I think that's a trustee society commitment. And so we hope you'll consider that. We need you. We can't do it without you.
Well, thank you very much for taking some time with us here today. And that was perfectly stated. One of the things that I think not a lot of people understand is that our operations don't come from the student membership dues. It's a completely separate organization. You are the AA. You headed up a board of regents that oversaw the operations of the organization. The foundation is a separate company. It's a 501c3 organization. Every gift is tax deductible. It's a separate board of directors. It's a separate staff. It's a separate operating budget. And all of that is funded by the generosity of individual donors like you. And so, we need that to help cover those operational costs, certainly the personnel, but the tax filings in every state, the auditing, the accounting. We have over 68 different fund accounts. And the products and services, and I know that you know this, but some people may not know, are those chapter scholarship accounts and the housing accounts that members can support their chapter and have tax deductible dollars going back into their chapter. And that's what a lot of people care about. So to your point, we're kind of asking, don't stop giving to those things that you care about, but could you carve out a little bit to fund the operations as well?
Right. No, perfectly said. And, operations, sometimes it's not a real sexy thing, but when it's the only thing that's supporting it is our alumni and their generosity, we've got to ask you to, hey, make that a priority. And again, think back on the relationships in your life and how important the organization's been and say, okay, we want this to get better. To do that, we've got to put our money where our mouth is.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you so much for taking some time out from your Christmas holiday season and spending it here. And we really appreciate all the time and talent and treasure that you've given to advance Delta Chi over the decades. You've certainly left a major impact on a lot of us. So thank you. Is there anything else you would like to say in closing?
Well, I love Delta Chi, so it's easy to get back and give back. And it's really hard to say no. As you can see, if I'm on the board of the Barrister Capital Corporation and I chair the fundraising committee, it's just hard to say no. But it means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to everybody out there. Let me just make one other comment too, Pete, about if you're 70 years old or older, 70 and a half years old or older, you usually have to take a required minimum distribution out of your IRA. And many of our brothers are at a point in their lives where they don't necessarily need that money. So it's a simple transaction to transfer that required minimum distribution out of your IRA right to the Delta Chi Educational Foundation. It doesn't go into your income, so you don't pay taxes on it, and it's a great gift to Delta Chi. So if you're above that wonderful age group and you've got that required minimum distribution, let's have a conversation. Talk to me, talk to Peter. We can help you make a nice gift and make an even greater impact there. So I just thought I'd throw that in here at the end of the year.
That was great. My phone number is 319-499-0352. Give me a call. Would love to have that conversation. Thank you.
I'm sure nobody wrote that down, so say it one more time.
319-499-0352, and we'll put it in the comments as well.
There you go. So, Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.